In this forecast, we're going to be talking about significant severe weather with damaging winds, large to very large hail, and tornadoes over the next few days, along with a flooding threat with some very heavy rainfall across the United States as well. We're going to look at the temperature trends and the tropical weather update at the end of the video. If you are here, make sure to like the video, give it a thumbs up, turn on the post notification bell so you're notified for future videos and live streams we do on the channel. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media, and subscribe to the channels. We do daily weather forecast breakdowns here on this channel across the United States. Let's look here at our low pressure systems. We have a strong low pressure up in southern Canada, another low pressure down here, which is the remnants of tropical storm Alvin moving across New Mexico. We also have another low pressure down here near Florida, and yet another low pressure over here into the northeast as well. And lower pressure brings active weather, so you can tell that we have some very active weather ahead over the next several days. Storm Prediction Center upgrade, a 3 out of 5 enhanced risk in orange across western Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas panhandles here for this evening into the overnight hours, and the yellow stretching up into southwestern Minnesota. And as far south as West Texas, we have a slight risk of severe weather in the yellow. That's a 2 out of 5. And then in the dark green, that is a marginal risk, a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale, also accompanying across portions of southeastern Florida with a marginal risk. Main risk of severe weather will be for some very strong damaging winds in excess of 70 or 80 miles per hour down here in western Kansas, the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle, Amarillo, all the way up to Dodge City. We could be seeing some very strong wind gusts that could cause wind damage out there. We also could be seeing hailstones in excess of quarter size, especially where you see the yellow shaded color from Minnesota, all the way back down to the Texas panhandle and all the way far west into eastern portions of Colorado there and eastern portions of Wyoming. It could also be possible in the brown shaded color too. And then looking here at the tornado potential, it is lower today, but it is not zero. We have a 2% chance here of tornadoes across northeast Colorado, far northwest Kansas, central Nebraska, up into parts of Iowa, Minnesota, and South Dakota as well. Looking as we go into tomorrow on Tuesday, June 3rd, a slight risk of severe weather stretching from Janesville, Wisconsin and Rockford, Illinois, all the way back down here into central Texas, where we could be seeing scattered severe thunderstorms capable of damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes on Tuesday. Here's the damaging wind threat, another 15% chance of 60+ mile per hour winds across southern Wisconsin, portions of Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, stretching down into the southern plains of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. We have a much higher chance for hail down there in the southern plains as well across North Texas, Oklahoma, and southeastern Kansas, with a lower threat for hail the further north you go because the instability is much weaker up there. And we have a low again but non-zero tornado threat tomorrow, stretching from northwest Texas all the way up into southeast Wisconsin, including the Milwaukee area, back into the Davenport Quad Cities, Rockford, Peoria, getting into areas of, say, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and Wichita Falls, Texas. We're going to be keeping an eye on the tornado threat as we go through Tuesday. Here's the radar here currently this evening at 6 o'clock. Notice we're seeing initiation of thunderstorms, and these could be severe up there into Minnesota, South Dakota, and Nebraska with damaging winds, hail, and a few tornadoes. Also watching storms evolving further south into western Kansas, Oklahoma panhandle, and Texas panhandle. These could pose a risk for some very big hail. It's all going to kind of congeal into a big cluster of severe thunderstorms here and heavy rain producers as well as we go deeper into the evening hours. This is at 10 o'clock, extending it to the 1 o'clock in the morning time frame, and notice we could have some very strong damaging winds. You can see a backward C shape there in Kansas. That indicates wind gusts in excess of 70-80 miles per hour late tonight, and a heavy rainfall threat. A lot of these storms are going to be moving pretty slow across the plains, so this tells me that the rainfall threat is really going to be elevated, so flash flooding will be a concern. As we go through the overnight hours, those storms will continue to press to the east into the Midwest, southern Minnesota, Iowa, northern Missouri. They could also pose a risk for some heavier rainfall and maybe some smaller hail as those storms weaken out further to the east by Tuesday morning. Looking here as we go through the midday time frame of Wednesday, we're going to see some very heavy rainfall, and some of that rainfall could be potentially heavy, especially into Missouri, eastern Kansas, down into central Oklahoma, in excess of 3 inches of rainfall. That could cause some flash flooding flooding out there. Here's tonight's flash flood outlook. A slight risk of flash flooding from central and western portions of Nebraska into southeast South Dakota, northwest Iowa, and southwest Minnesota. Also a slight risk of flash flooding in southern Florida as well. Then going into Tuesday, across portions of the upper Mississippi Valley back into the central southern plains, or from Texas all the way to western Illinois and southeastern Iowa, we have a slight risk for flash flooding as we go through Tuesday, as multiple inches of rain over the same areas will continue through the day, and that could give us some very heavy rainfall. So we look here at Tuesday's threat for severe weather, and notice we see the severe storms really starting to pop there across the Mississippi Valley here, especially up into Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, and northern Illinois, and then storms getting pretty strong down here in Missouri, eastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, and north Texas as well. And then as we go into the evening hours, these are going to be very slow moving. So that, again, that means the flash flooding threat will really be elevated as we go through the evening and overnight hours on Tuesday. And again, that gives us potentially over 3 inches of rain in a lot of these areas. Going into midweek on Wednesday, June 4th, we have some lower end threats for severe weather. This is a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale, marginal risk across Detroit, Toledo, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, back there into southeast Illinois. Also a marginal risk back here into southeast Colorado and eastern New Mexico. We have to watch out for some damaging winds, some large hail, and an isolated brief tornado in these areas. Thursday is going to be relatively a much stronger day of severe weather compared to Wednesday, as we have another 2 out of 5 slight risk in yellow here from Amarillo up here into Woodward, Oklahoma, into the Elk City area, perhaps up into Dodge City and Wichita. Again, we'll be keeping a very close eye on that for Thursday. And then so far for Friday, June 6th, predictability is too low for severe weather, but this could actually be placed further east with severe weather toward the mid and lower Mississippi Valley if confidence does increase in that, and the Storm Prediction Center may put that out as we do get closer. So let's look at the next couple of days after Tuesday. We have some severe weather lining up across the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes there on Wednesday from Detroit, Toledo, back into Fort Wayne, Gary, and down there into Indianapolis. That could stretch down there into southern Illinois. Damaging winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes will be possible. Additional storms will develop on Thursday down here into the Texas Panhandle. These could be supercellular, so tornadoes could actually be a concern down here, in addition to the threat for damaging winds and large hail. And then as we go into Friday, it looks like maybe the mid-Mississippi Valley to the Ohio Valley could be another bout of heavier thunderstorms with some isolated severe weather, including areas of Cincinnati, Louisville, Evansville, St. Louis, Little Rock, and Jonesboro. Those areas could be seeing some severe weather on an isolated basis as we go into Friday, June 6th. Overall, as we go between now and going into the middle of the week, we already showed you the heavy rainfall, but now going through the end of the week, going through Saturday morning on June 7th, we could be seeing potentially over 6 to 8 inches of rain, really centered across the central southern plains. So southeastern Kansas, central and northeastern Oklahoma, and southwest Missouri looks to be in the bullseye for that 6 to 8 inches of rain, and some of this could be because of multiple rounds of severe weather across these regions. And you can see big cities here: Oklahoma City, Stillwater, Tulsa, up here into Wichita, Joplin, and Springfield into Missouri. We could be seeing multiple inches of rain, so flash flooding will be a compounding effect as we go deeper into the week here this week. Beyond this week, going into the upcoming weekend, for Saturday, June 7th and Sunday, June 8th, we have a trough from southern Canada translating southeast into the Great Lakes and upper Midwest as we go, especially even into early next week on Monday, June 9th. This could bring another strong cold front through across the Midwest and more severe weather. And this could definitely bring a line of storms across portions of Wisconsin, Iowa, northern Illinois as we go into Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening. This looks to be mainly a damaging wind and hail threat, but an isolated tornado will be possible. Very strong low pressure system up here in Ontario at 987 millibars. Very heavy rains up there as well. Otherwise, near the Gulf Coast and southeast, some isolated severe instances of potentially damaging winds, large hail, and an isolated tornado as we go through early next week. First, before we leave, let's talk about our temperatures and then the tropical weather update. Looking here at the temperatures this afternoon, we're in the 90s up there across the upper Midwest, 90s all the way down to Texas. In fact, mid-90s in southern Texas this afternoon. As we see the cold front push through tomorrow, notice a refreshing air mass on the backside across the northern plains, upper Midwest into the 60s and 70s, 80s further east ahead of the cold front. That will spark some more storms. 80s, potentially some record highs up there into Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York State as we go into Wednesday. Refreshing 70s Canadi's behind the cold front there. And then as we go to the end of the week, look at Texas there, especially central and southern Texas. We're going to be warming up into the upper 90s to low 100s. And by the time we get to Sunday, we could be pressing up to 110 degrees in the Rio Grande Valley in West Texas, and even over there toward Phoenix at 107 by the time we reach Sunday, June 8th. So it's going to be very, very hot across those areas. And before we leave, the tropical weather season just started yesterday on June 1st. Already a 10% chance of tropical development off the Carolina coast and the Florida coast as we go through the next 7 days. The National Hurricane Center is watching that. Overall, it is a low risk. And then across the East Pacific, a lower chance as well, a 40% chance of tropical development just to the south of the Mexico coast. This will be pressing westward. We'll be keeping an eye on that as we go through the next 7 days. If you did enjoy the forecast, thank you all for joining, and I hope you all stick around and come back for more updates. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, family member on social media, and also, of course, turn on post notifications so you're notified for future videos and live streams, and I'll see you all in the next video.